Spencer, today I want to talk about something a little bit sciencey. So last weekend, the U.S. National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration station in Mauna Loa, Hawaii, reported that carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere have reached 400 parts per million. Now, before I talk about why this is important, I want to illustrate what 400 parts per million means. Now, parts per million means that for every million parts of the atmosphere, one of those parts is carbon dioxide. If the water in this bottle represents the atmosphere, then 400 parts per million of carbon dioxide would be 4 drops of water. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's not that much, but it is. The atmosphere is composed of about 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and a little less than 1% argon. Now, those gases are constant, and so their percentages never change. And because they never change, they don't really affect the atmosphere and the climate. It's the gases that make up a tiny percent of the atmosphere, but whose percentages change from year to year, like carbon dioxide, ozone, and aerosols, that really affect the atmosphere and the climate. We have been measuring carbon dioxide levels at Mauna Loa since 1958. It started with a guy named Charles David Keeling, who, through his research and now his son Ralph's research, has produced what's called the Keeling Curve. This curve shows how the concentration of carbon dioxide has increased every year since he started measuring in 1958. When Mr. Keeling started measuring carbon dioxide levels, it was at just a little under 320 parts per million. But now, 55 years later, it is at 400 parts per million. This is not a surprise to scientists. Carbon dioxide levels reaching 400 parts per million was not a matter of if, but when. What this really shows is the impact we have had on the atmosphere and how we cannot keep ignoring it. To illustrate how high these carbon dioxide levels are, some people are saying that the last time CO2 levels were at 400 parts per million was during the Pliocene epoch, which was over 2.5 million years ago. So why am I talking about this? Because it shows that we, as you and me, as a country and as a human race, make impacts. And those impacts have consequences. Even if the United States somehow greatly reduces our carbon dioxide emissions, there are still countries like China whose emissions are getting larger and larger each year. And even if every country on the planet somehow reduces our carbon dioxide emissions, it's still going to take a while for the CO2 levels to come back down. It's going to take even longer for the temperature to start decreasing. We all know we're going to reap what we sow. So let's start making some positive impacts in our home, at our schools, on our planet. There are links in the doobly-doo about the carbon dioxide levels reaching 400 parts per million. Spencer, I'll see you tomorrow.